right there. Hey, I fuck with soldiers. I be talking about soldiers like that. And J. Cole, we can talk. You want to call me? You want to whatever you want to do? We can talk. But other than that, boy, watch your mouth, boy. Watch your mouth, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what made you to jump out the window and just get the... I'm so flabbergasted, bro. I am flabbergasted, bro. I'm flabbergasted, bro. Oh, God. I'm so confused, bro. These niggas got me f***ed up. That's why I got the fans I got. That's why I got the money I got. It don't matter what you like. J. Cole, you stupid. You see what I'm saying? It don't matter what you like. It don't matter if you ain't like the song at first. Now you like it now. Who gives a f? Who is you? Who the f is you? You ain't God. You know what I'm saying? You ain't nobody. You ain't bought my album. You ain't signed me. You ain't put me on. You ain't put no money in my pocket. You ain't do a future with me.
I remember the very first time that I was legitimately offended with people, with someone. I didn't choose to be offended. I didn't choose to be hurt. I didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what? I think I want to have a bunch of wounds in my heart from people. I think I want to wake up today, and when I wake up today, I think I want to be a victim. I don't think anybody chooses to do that. But being hurt and being offended it's almost inevitable when you think about it. I think back to when I was a child and the homie told me that I had to leave his house because his Cambodian parents, specifically his grandmother, didn't like black people. I remember chilling with the homie and we were hanging out with two girls. One of them was talking and the homie asked her randomly, "Are you black? Do you have any kind of black in you?" And her answer was, "No, I'm not black. Thank God." And then she caught herself like, and looked at me, and the homie looked at me, I looked at the homie, and we were like, we got to dip. We got to get out of here. I remember being at the Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya fight. And when Floyd Mayweather came out and he had a sombrero on, I think he had a poncho on, I never heard so many racial slurs all at one time in my life. Look at this monkey. It was crazy. I felt so uncomfortable. Walking to Little Caesars and having a white man spit right in front of you and give you this dirty look as if I ruined his life. I didn't choose that. I didn't choose to be in those moments. My intentions weren't to create those moments. And as I look back to those moments, I was angry. I was angry with people. I started to lose trust in people. And I mean, there's been many other times where I was offended with people, offended with my friends, offended with family members. Like it's almost impossible. Matter of fact, no, it is impossible to not be offended with people. I mean, and after giving my life to Christ, I thought I can go to church And surely this is a place where I don't have to worry about people hurting me, right? Christians can't hurt me, right? They're not supposed to hurt me, right? Like they're supposed to love God and love people. In my mind, Christians can't do no wrong. Boy, was I wrong. That is wrong. That is. I get to church and you start to realize that there's cliques and that people don't honor you the way that they honor other people. And so then you get offended there. I mean, church is a place where you should always feel safe to be yourself, a place where you should be safe. You should feel safe to be vulnerable with people. But what I failed to realize was that the church is filled with a lot of broken people. Some of them coming from the same background as me, experiencing similar things that I've experienced in life.
A lot of that shit for me, artistically, and what I stood for morally as an artist, I was conflicted because on one hand, we partying all the time to this music. But on the other hand, I'm like, man, this shit go against everything that I think that I am or who I am. I had some fake morals. Around the time Soulja Boy came out, I don't know how this happened, but I had a realization within myself. Because I'm hearing that shit and I'm like, man, this shit, Soulja Boy, tell him. It sounds crazy to say now because it's such a classic to me. But at that time, I had resistance. Nah, that's not the thing that I love. Like, what? Y'all fucking with this? Like, bruh, you a hater. You know you like this shit, actually. You know you done did what you be better off doing is you need to look at a Soulja Boy, you need to look at a such and such. You be better off realizing that these dudes is talented and they understand something that you don't understand. Bro, I swear to God, like, I turned from a hater to just an appreciator. Like, what can I find that's amazing about this? What can I find that's good about this? What can I find that's boom, boom? And bro, that shit, it changed me as an artist. I became a better artist.
That right there, hey, I fuck with Soulja. I be talking about Soulja like that. And J. Cole, we could talk. You want to call me? You want to whatever you want to do, we could talk. But other than that, boy, watch your mouth, boy. Watch your mouth, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what made you to jump out the window and just get the... I'm so flabbergasted, bro. I am flabbergasted, bro. I'm flabbergasted, bro. Oh, God. I'm so confused, bro. These niggas got me. That's why I got the fans I got. That's why I got the money I got. It don't matter what the you like. J. Cole, you stupid. You see what I'm saying? It don't matter what you like. It don't matter if you ain't like the song at first, now you like it now. Who gives a f? Who is you? Who the f is you? You ain't God. You know what I'm saying? You ain't nobody. You ain't bought my album. You ain't signed me. You ain't put me on. You ain't put no money in my pocket. You ain't do a feature with me. I don't know you. We ain't never met. We ain't never collab. You ain't never gave me no game. You ain't never called me and say, hey, Soulja, let's hop in the studio and work. Fuck you. What have you contributed to my life since I've been born since to this day? What have you contributed to my life and my career? Not one thing. Shit. Not a verse, a feature, a follow, a tweet, bitch. I don't even know you. I ain't never spoke to you a day in my life. But you want to get on a podcast with Lil Yachty talking about you ain't used to. Who gives a boy? Who are you? Who gives a? My fans gonna buy my shit anyway. I'm gonna go #1 regardless. I'm gonna be rich regardless. I'm gonna have money regardless. I'm gonna live my life regardless. Who the f is you? That's what I'm saying. You ain't nobody, bro. You don't matter, bro. Your opinion is irrelevant. You ain't did shit, but just show the world your true colors. You boy. You.
Now, no disrespect to Soulja Boy, but I wanted to show an example of what being offended looks like, what it feels like. I mean, that was my reaction to a lot of the people who offended me before I was saved, before I gave my life to Christ. That was my reaction. People would do something to me, or I would take something and just go completely off the rails and make something out of nothing, because what J. Cole was doing was giving the man props and saying that J. Cole, as an artist back in the day when Soulja Boy was popping, was closed-minded. And he had to realize that, look, people actually rock with this stuff. You need to stop hating on it, and you need to figure out what he's doing that's getting him to this level of success. And you need to find out how you can implement that into your own career, because the way that you're thinking is going to keep you stuck exactly where you are, and you're not going to get ahead. Pretty much what J. Cole was saying. I don't think Soulja Boy even took the time to actually watch the full interview, or not the full interview, but maybe that part of the interview. I don't think he watched it through, because at the end of it, J. Cole explains that he eventually became a fan of Soulja Boy's work. Soulja Boy heard what he heard, and he went off the rails. Clearly, you can see that Soulja Boy is offended, and that's probably a lot of our reaction towards those who offend us. And obviously, now we see that this is more of a worldly way of handling offense. You know, you go completely off the rails and you start disrespecting people. You start calling people out. You take things completely out of context, and you get on stuff like IG Live, and you go on a rant, and you completely try to drag the other person through the mud. And I don't think that's a healthy way of handling offense. But even after being saved, for me, going to church, I thought I couldn't be hurt by people, but it happened. All of those things happened, and all of it left a wound in my heart. And in those moments, what I needed was somebody to talk to, somebody to be there for me, somebody to listen while I vent. You know what I mean? I guess throughout this video, I'm gonna use Soulja Boy as an example. Maybe he's been through a lot in life. Maybe he's used to people hating on him, and that's why he reacted the way that he did. Maybe he respected somebody like J. Cole. Maybe he respects his opinion. And when he heard J. Cole say that he thought Soulja Boy's music was trash, maybe it triggered something in his heart. It triggered something in his mind, and it caused him to react the way that he did. And sometimes, even as men, sometimes we don't have that space to vent. You know, we're told, you got to man up, you got to get over it, you know, or we're told to go and hit up the person, but you're hitting up the person with ill intentions, with intentions to harm, to hurt, to disrespect, rather than trying to have a conversation and understand and bring up the things that offended you. Now, sometimes in Christian spaces particularly, we can make it difficult and uncomfortable for people to vent, to express themselves when they've been hurt, when they've been offended by somebody within the church. I've been guilty of this. When people would tell me that they're offended, I would state the obvious and tell them, you're just offended, you need to get over it. And I've treated people who were offended as if they were a cancer until I got offended. Until I got offended. And then I realized I didn't want to be treated like that. I didn't want people to alienate me because I was offended, because I was hurt, because I had a wound in my heart from somebody within the same space that I was dwelling. In a sense, Sometimes when you're offended in Christian spaces, you get canceled. It's happened to me. I've seen it happen to other people. You get canceled. Nobody wants to rock with you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to reach out to you. Nobody wants to talk about it. You're kind of left to deal with your emotions and the sting all by yourself, and you just have to eventually get over it. But I don't believe that's the way to handle things, and I don't think that that's how Jesus would handle people who are offended. In moments of vulnerability, when I was hurt, what I needed was love. What I needed was compassion. What I needed was kindness and gentleness. I needed community. I needed understanding. I needed patience, and I needed grace. When people are hurt or offended, they're fragile. And the last thing they need is for somebody pointing their religious finger in their face, stating the obvious, saying, you're just offended and you need to get over it. People like that, in my opinion, lack empathy. I was that person. I lacked empathy. And I didn't allow God to use me in those moments to help somebody come out of or process and work through their offense. In that moment, I failed to understand the heart of God, and I missed an opportunity to allow God to use me to impact someone in a positive way who's hurt or offended. I think about how many people who have left church offended would have stayed if they simply had somebody there for them, not to state the obvious, but to be their friend. I'm thinking, and something that God's been showing me is that there is tremendous power when we shut up and listen to other people when they're speaking, not speaking to respond, but not listening to respond, but listening to understand. We need to stop telling people that they're just hurt and they need to get over it. It's like, yeah, well, for starters, I'm trying to get over it, but there's no closure. There's no clarity. I can forgive you by faith, but the sting is still there. I'm the type of person now who needs to talk things out. I used to be the type of person who would sweep things under the rug and go about my day holding on to this bitterness and developing this passive aggressive behavior, which is unhealthy. So, I mean, God's been working on me. He's been working on my heart, and I'm not that person anymore. So my process of healing is different. I like to talk things out. I like to bring things up, and lay them on the table. And I like to work through my issues, work through my traumas, work through the hurt, the pain, and I guess be more practical and talk about it. You know what I mean? Obviously, when the other party refuses to want to engage in those type of conversations, then you have to set those healthy boundaries and not apologize for them. But here's another unhealthy extreme that I want to talk about, and that's holding on to offense. How many people do we know when they're offended do what Soulja Boy did? They go completely off the rails and they go on rants on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Some of them even go as far as starting TikTok or YouTube channels dedicated to dragging people through the mud and dunking on people. Like, a lot of these pages, it's crazy because if people didn't make mistakes, if people weren't flawed, a lot of these pages would be out of a job. Holding on to offense can lead us into bitterness. I think Soulja Boy's response, I think it really didn't have a lot to do with J. Cole. I think he's held on to offense and bitterness for so long that he had an opportunity to release that upon somebody. But J. Cole wasn't the cause of that. He's not the cause of his offense. He said something that triggered it, but Soulja Boy's response was a result of what he's held on to for so many years and hasn't let go. And holding on to offense can lead us into bitterness. Unforgiveness it's not a process, and it's not a journey. Our emotions is a journey, and healing is a process, but unforgiveness or forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness doesn't mean you're weak. It actually takes a lot of strength and courage to forgive people, especially people who have wronged you and haven't taken the steps to correct it. People who refuse to own up to their wrongdoings. It takes a lot of courage and strength to forgive them. And I know we've heard this before, that holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison, hoping that it will affect the other person. I know we've heard that many times, but it's true. When you hold on to unforgiveness and bitterness, you're just harming yourself. You prevent yourself from having healthy relationships. You prevent yourself from allowing people into your life who genuinely and sincerely want to love you. You're closed off to love. You're closed off to affection. You're closed off to intimacy. You're closed off to getting close with people. And you're closing yourself off to people who are important to your future, to your calling, to your life. People who really want to see you doing well in life. People who love you, who support you. You prevent those people from coming into your life because you choose to hold on to something that was caused by people in the past. We didn't choose to get hurt by people. We didn't choose to be a victim, but you can choose to stay there, to stay planted in that place. And I believe God is saying that it's time for us to forgive some people. I believe God is saying that, yes, your feelings are valid, but in order for you to experience freedom in this area, you got to let some things go. And I want to read two stories to you. One is in Luke 23, verse 34. In Luke chapter 23, verse 34, to give you context, Jesus he just went through a process of being mocked, being ridiculed, being beaten, being tortured, being whipped with a cat o' nine tail, people spitting on his face, putting a crown of thorns on his head. Like, he's just being completely humiliated and tortured. And he had all rights to get offended with the people who were hurting him. He had every right to say things like, God, you know what? Strike these people down. These people don't deserve to live. Look what they're doing. But this was his response. Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus' response was to forgive them. I don't know if I could have done that. I forgive those people who have hurt me in the past now. But if I was in Jesus's position and I was going to the cross for the very people who were spitting in my face, I don't know if I could forgive them. But that's exactly what Jesus did. As a man, remember, Jesus gave up his divine privileges as God, and he lived as a man. And through everything that he experienced, he was still able to forgive them, which lets me know that I am fully capable of doing the same towards people who have hurt me, who have harmed me in the past. There's another scripture I want to read. It's in Matthew 18:21. This one is powerful, and I think this one is going to help a lot of us. So Peter comes up to Jesus and he asked him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Jesus said, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. Not 7 times, but 77 times. That shows you that you are going to definitely be offended with people. Somebody is going to wrong you in some way. And our response, the best response, the better response, is to forgive them. Jesus goes on and says, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. A talent was a monetary unit worth about 20 years' wages for a laborer. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold, his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me, and I will pay everything. And out of pity for him, the master of that servant released him and forgave him the debt. But when that same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii and seized him. He began to choke him, saying, pay what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, have patience with me, and I will pay you. He refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their master all that had taken place. Then his master summoned him and said to him, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. And should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant, as I had mercy on you? And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. That's heavy. Heavy words. Heavy words. But I would like to submit something to you watching this. If you're dealing with offense, and I don't say this to pick on you, I say this as somebody who has been offended and who has held on to offense. And this is something that I had to realize. And this question helped me get out of being offended with people. And I wrote it down so I don't forget it. While we hold on to offense and we punish those who hurt us directly or indirectly, can I submit to you that we are all capable of offending someone? The things that were done to me, I may have done to somebody else. How many people who aren't in our lives anymore because we hurt them? How many people have we shut out for trying to express themselves? How many people have we wronged and haven't apologized for? Something to think about. That's all I got, y'all. I'll see y'all later.